Okay, hey y'all. So, usually I process my thoughts with my friends, but I decided lately I've been wanting to do more just written journals, audio journals, just more prayers with God and be able to sit with whatever I'm feeling, figure it out for myself, talk to people if it feels right, but just first like ask myself, okay, what's going on? And I decided today I wanted to share this with you too because I found that a lot of people are going through similar situations. It may look different as far as how it's happening in their lives, but we're pretty much different human beings going through the same life, okay? I was playing one of my YouTubes that I watch all the time, well, one of my YouTubers, and she talked about this topic in particular. And I'm like, if that's not God telling me to go ahead and do a cute little, I guess, mini podcast vibe, because this not gonna be too long, but enough to point where hopefully it starts a conversation in the comment section because I just want to see like where everybody is when it comes to this topic. So this past weekend I was working and I saw someone that I knew and my birthday passed. So they asked me how my birthday was and I told them how I felt that day. And if we're being honest, I cried all day. Okay. I am a fairly new mom. I'm a mom to a 3-year old. And if you know, Terrible 2 does not where the terribles end. It continues 3, 4, 5. It seems like 6 because my friends have older kids. And I'm like, Lord, each era has something to it. And it's beautiful, all that good stuff. But sometimes it's just ghetto. And I was upset because that day, it really just felt like a regular day. I had planned to do something that Saturday. But on my actual birthday, nothing really special was planned. But I ended up seeing somebody that I knew and they offered to cook me a meal. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cute because I really didn't have anything to honestly look forward to on my actual birthday. So I was like, I'm going to get a good meal, hopefully. And I was really excited. So I'm getting dressed, getting me and my baby together. Text a person. I'm like, hey, when's a good time for me to meet up with you to get my plate? Do you not know that I got every excuse under the sun except for I have your plate? So instead of me responding back, I left it where it was, went to Chipotle, got me a little cute little Chipotle bowl. Thankfully, my daughter had fell asleep, so I was able to eat my food in peace. But when I tell you I was crying over my chips, I was crying over my chips because I just felt like between that and some other things that had happened that day, I realized that sometimes people are just not accountable. They don't stick to their word. And I know that at the end of the day, like, we can't control what people do. But at the end of the day, I was really excited. I wanted people to actually commit to the things that they said they were going to commit to. So now I was talking to the person about how my birthday went. They were like, as humans, we have to understand that we can't really have expectations. That we have to understand that all we can control is ourselves. And that's very much true. But there was something about that conversation that at the time I couldn't put my hand on why it was bothering me. And I realized it a couple days later, and especially after watching that particular YouTuber I was talk about her experience. And she was like, yes, we're only in control of ourselves. That's very much true. We can't rely on people to do every and anything that they say. But there's also a point where it's like, okay, like, when do we hold accountability? When do we say, you know what, you did promise me this, and even though you cannot fulfill it, where was the communication to let me know that you weren't able to do it? And I think that's something that I'm realizing, and it may seem very, I guess, not so humanistic, but I feel like I look at everything from a business standpoint. I feel like when it comes to a job, when you get hired, whatever shift that you get, whether it's morning shift, evening shift, the grave shift, you are committed to a certain time. You're committed to certain days. And when you're unable to fulfill those duties, hopefully you communicate with whoever you need to communicate with that you cannot do it. And I feel like I look at everything from that aspect. I feel like, of course, things happen. Sometimes we think that we can commit to something and that time comes and we're unable to. But there also comes times where we just have to push through. And I feel like nowadays people say, relax, rest. And I think all that is important in due time. But sometimes we have to just work through whatever we're going through. I realize that, especially now as a mom, there are days where I'm tired. I don't feel like changing a pull-up. I don't feel like making a meal. I don't feel like warming up milk. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's not about what I want, it's about what's needed. And what's needed in that moment is my child poop. She can't walk around this house smelling like boiled eggs. My child is hungry. She can't go to the kitchen and open up the fridge. Well, she can, but she cannot, mentally understand what is well for her nutrition. That's on me. So with that being said, while my expectation may be that I don't want to do anything, or my expectation may be that I can't rely on everybody to be there when I want them to be there, at what point do we say, you know what? It's not just that we're failing when it comes to expectations, but we're failing when it comes to just being a person of your word. And what the person was saying on the YouTube was like, I'm not ready to sit here and just accept that I cannot rely on somebody being accountable. Like, when did we get to the point where it was like you just do whatever? I feel like that's not acceptable in certain situations. Because like I said, when it comes to a job, I'm pretty sure if you cannot make it to work, or if you're late, or if you're not able to stay the whole shift, hopefully, like I said, you talk to somebody to let them know what's up. And I think especially like when it comes to any relationship, whether it's friendship, whether it's romance, whether it's a work relationship, communication is key. Of course, like I said, things happen. We can't always be where we want to be. We can't always commit to everything that we commit to. But at the end of the day, where is that space where we say, you know what, I know I promised this, but unfortunately this happened? Or even just not even giving an excuse, just saying, you know what, hey, I'm sorry, I can't do it, but let me go ahead and see when is a good time for me to be able to do it. And I feel like that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people miss. If you can't do it, that's fine, but when can we do a rain check? With my situation, I can't cook for you on your birthday, but in the next 2 weeks I'll have time that I can make space, and I can cook you a meal, and I can do a little rain check. Where is the level of, yes, I can't do it, and maybe I can't expect for people to be whatever they say they're going to be, or whatever they say that they're going to do, but at what point do I say, you know what, no, like, you can't do it today, but when can you do it? Or if you can't do it and you know that you can't do it, at some point I'm gonna get tired and I'm gonna just leave, because you've shown me a character, a pattern that is not reliable. And the last thing I want to say is, I was thinking about this as I was talking to myself. I was like, is having a plan B, plan C, plan D, is that a trauma response? Because when you really think about it, there should be a certain level of, you should be able to rely on your plan A. If I put my child in daycare and they tell me that Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 they are open, I shouldn't be having to think about plan B, plan C, as to let me make sure I can have somebody who can watch her in case the daycare is unable to. At some point it becomes, you're so fearful that someone's not going to be there for you, that you're planning to already allow them to fail. And at some point we have to have trust in it. Like I said, I get that things happen, that sometimes we commit to things that we're unable to really be able to do. But at some point we have to say, I'm going to be a person of my word. Even if I can't do it 100%, let me at least do it 25, 50%, whatever I have. And if I really can't do it, let me communicate that, and let me see when I'm able to make up whatever I could not do. So this little rant wasn't really something that I wanted to be, looking down from it in a bad angle. I'm just looking at it from a point of, I just feel like it's not acceptable all the time. Yes, expectations can get us messed up, especially when we're expecting something that may not be realistic, or we're expecting something that that person may not be able to do. But if the expectation is realistic, it's in that person's capability, at what point do we say enough is enough, and either you just don't want to do it, or you're just not consistent enough to be able to hold your word? And whatever it is for that situation is cool, but it helps me to know how to move accordingly. So if you have any thoughts, if you have anything that you've been going through that's similar, please put a comment down. I hope this wasn't anything that was too long, that didn't make sense. I just wanted to go on a little talk with the YouTube streets about things that I've been going through personally, that I realize other people are too, especially out here in this world where everybody's just going with the flow. And a part of that is beautiful, but part of that is like, where is the structure? Because I need me a little structure every here and then. Not all the time, but every here and then I need somebody to tell me one thing, and that's what it is. And they know it ain't going to happen, or I forgot. I'm going to put everything that I can into this commitment. And if I can't, I'm going to at least communicate to you that I can and figure out how I can make it up. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful day.